The Spanish Civil War was one of the defining conflicts of the 20th century, not because it was the largest war of its time, but because it concentrated so many of the age's fears into one country. From 1936 to 1939, Spain was torn between the Republican government of the Second Spanish Republic and nationalist rebels who eventually came under Franco's command. To outsiders, the war looked like a preview of a wider European disaster: fascism against communism, democracy against dictatorship, revolution against counter-revolution. But inside Spain, the struggle was even more personal. It was about land, class, religion, regional identity, military power, and the future of the state itself. The war did not begin from one sudden argument. It erupted after years of distrust, polarization, and fear that compromise had become impossible. Spain before the war was a country under enormous pressure. The Second Republic, founded in 1931, tried to modernize political and social life. Reformers wanted to reduce the political power of the army, limit the influence of the Catholic Church, expand secular education, and address rural inequality through land reform. These ideas inspired many workers, peasants, socialists, anarchists, liberals, and regional movements in places like Catalonia and the Basque Country. But to conservatives, monarchists, landowners, traditional Catholics, and many officers, the Republic looked like a direct assault on Spain's foundations. Every reform seemed to one side like overdue justice and to the other like national destruction. By the time the left-leaning Popular Front won the 1936 election, politics had become existential. Each camp believed the other would ruin Spain if allowed to govern. The immediate trigger came in July 1936, when a group of military generals launched a coup against the Popular Front government. They expected a quick seizure of power. Instead, the coup only partially succeeded. Rebel forces gained control in some regions, especially parts of the south, west, and north, but failed to take several key cities. Madrid and Barcelona resisted, and in many areas workers' organizations and left-wing parties were armed to fight the uprising. That failure transformed a coup into a civil war. Spain was split into Republican and Nationalist zones, with front lines cutting across provinces, towns, and sometimes families. The legal government still existed, but its authority was shaken. The rebels had not won, but they had created a rival Spain. From that point, both sides fought as if defeat meant annihilation. The Republican side was not a single unified movement. It included moderate Republicans who wanted to defend constitutional government, socialists who wanted deep reform, communists who gained influence through Soviet support, anarchists who wanted social revolution, and regional separatists who wanted greater autonomy. In Republican-held areas, the war released revolutionary energy. Factories and farms were collectivized in some places, militias replaced traditional military structures, and local committees took power. For supporters, this looked like liberation from old hierarchies. For critics, it looked like disorder at the worst possible moment. The Republic therefore had to fight two battles at once: a military struggle against Franco's forces and an internal argument over what kind of society it was defending. That division weakened coordination, morale, and long-term strategy. The nationalist side was also a coalition, but it became more disciplined over time. It brought together army officers, conservative Catholics, monarchists, Carlists, landowners, and the fascist phalange. These groups did not all share the same vision. Some wanted a restored monarchy, others wanted a traditional Catholic order, and others admired the fascist systems rising in Italy and Germany. What united them was opposition to the Republic and fear of left-wing revolution. Franco was not the only rebel leader at first, but he proved politically patient and militarily effective. In October 1936, he became supreme leader of the nationalist cause. By 1937, he had absorbed rival right-wing forces into a controlled political structure. Franco's power came from turning a fragmented rebellion into the foundation of a future dictatorship. Foreign intervention changed the war's balance. Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy supported the Nationalists with aircraft, weapons, pilots, troops, and logistical assistance. Germany's Condor Legion tested modern air warfare, while Italy sent large numbers of men and equipment to strengthen Franco's campaigns. The Republican government received aid from the Soviet Union and Mexico, but Soviet assistance came with political consequences. It strengthened communist influence inside the Republican camp and deepened suspicion among other left-wing factions. Britain, France, and the United States officially followed non-intervention policies, even while continuing to recognize the Republican government. In practice, this hurt the Republic more than the Nationalists, because Germany and Italy ignored non-intervention aggressively. Spain became an international battlefield where democratic hesitation faced fascist commitment. The war also attracted volunteers from around the world. Tens of thousands joined the international brigades to fight for the Republic. Many saw Spain as the place where fascism had to be stopped before it spread further across Europe. Their presence gave the Republican cause global symbolism, and writers, journalists, and artists turned the war into a moral drama watched far beyond Spain. Yet the reality was harsher than the legend. Foreign volunteers faced poor supplies, confused command structures, dangerous offensives, and heavy casualties. Their courage could not overcome the Republic's deeper problems: uneven military organization, shortages, political infighting, and the steady foreign backing enjoyed by Franco. The international brigades mattered as a symbol of anti-fascist solidarity, but symbols alone could not decide the war. Madrid became the emotional center of Republican resistance. When nationalist forces advanced toward the capital in 1936, many expected the city to fall quickly. Instead, Madrid held. The slogan "No pasaran," meaning "they shall not pass," became a rallying cry. The defense of Madrid showed that Franco's victory would not be immediate and that the Republic still had powerful popular support. But the siege also revealed the brutal modern character of the conflict. Air raids, artillery, propaganda, and urban warfare became part of daily life. Holding Madrid lifted morale, but it did not solve the Republic's strategic problems. Franco could shift campaigns elsewhere while keeping pressure on the capital. Madrid's endurance became legendary, but endurance was not the same as winning. In 1937, the Nationalists focused on northern Spain, a region valuable for its industry, ports, and resources. Capturing the north would weaken the Republic economically and reduce its ability to continue the war. Franco's forces advanced with methodical pressure, supported by superior coordination and foreign air power. The bombing of Guernica in April 1937 became the most infamous symbol of this campaign. German and Italian aircraft, supporting the Nationalists, attacked the Basque town and killed civilians, shocking international opinion. Guernica came to represent a new kind of war, where civilian populations could become targets from the air. The fall of the northern coast was a major Republican defeat. It gave Franco resources, momentum, and proof that his slow, deliberate strategy was working. The Spanish Civil War was not only fought on battlefields. It was also fought through terror, reprisals, and political cleansing. In Republican territory, revolutionary violence included attacks on priests, landowners, suspected right-wing sympathizers, and political enemies. The degree of official control varied by place, especially in the early chaos after the coup. In nationalist territory, repression was more systematic and directly linked to building Franco's new order. Executions, imprisonment, purges, forced labor, and intimidation targeted Republicans, union members, teachers, local officials, and anyone associated with the defeated left. Violence served a political function: to destroy opposition and reshape society through fear. This is why the war left such deep memories. For many Spaniards, the front line was not distant. It reached into churches, schools, workplaces, prisons, and families. By 1938, the Republic's situation was deteriorating badly. Nationalist offensives split Republican territory and eventually cut Madrid off from Barcelona. Catalonia, one of the Republic's most important regions, fell in 1938 and 1939, pushing huge numbers of civilians and soldiers toward the French border. Inside the Republican camp, arguments intensified. Some wanted to keep fighting, hoping that a wider European war might soon begin and force the democracies to oppose fascism more openly. Others believed the war was lost and that negotiation was the only way to prevent total destruction. In March 1939, Colonel Segismundo Casado led a coup against the Republican government in Madrid, claiming that communist influence had become too strong and seeking peace with Franco. But Franco rejected compromise. He wanted unconditional surrender. Franco entered Madrid and declared victory on April 1, 1939. The end of the war did not bring national healing. It brought dictatorship. Hundreds of thousands of Republicans fled Spain, many ending up in refugee camps in southern France. Those who stayed faced executions, prison, surveillance, exclusion from jobs, and years of repression. Franco ruled Spain until his death in 1975, shaping the country for nearly 4 decades. The Spanish Civil War still matters because it shows how a society can fracture when politics becomes a struggle for survival and opponents become enemies to be eliminated. It also foreshadowed the wider violence of Europe in the Second World War: foreign intervention, ideological war, civilian bombing, propaganda, and mass repression. Spain's tragedy was national, but its warning was international. The world saw what was coming and still failed to stop it. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.